everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 18 of 2B Hero X, and I feel like after this episode, we are going to be getting into the final arc of the series, because then we'll have 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, we'll have 6 episodes left to build up to a climax and the end of the season. But before we do that, we have to figure out the rest of little Johnny's backstory, because last episode, oh my gosh, it was so good. I feel like ever since Lo Lee has been introduced into the story, everything that has tied Lo Lee in with No-No, in with little Johnny, in with Ghostblade, like this whole quadratic formula of backstories that intertwine have been so good, and I've been so invested, and I'm excited to see. We ended off the episode 17, with Big Johnny seemingly to square off against Vortex, and Ghostblade's there watching, and little Johnny, is he going to be able to control Big Johnny? How's that going to work? I am sat and ready to find out. But before we do, I had 2 really quick comments over from Patreon that I wanted to touch base on. With Small Screen Computer, for episode 16, said the caller showed on the masked man's phone is just unknown caller. Figures, that seems like it would be legit, like that would happen. And then Tiny Truck. Look, I talked in episode 15 about how or episode 16 about how I cannot with Lo Lee's father trying to hook up his daughter's best friend and coworker with a man that's almost the age of said father. I'm like, I can't do that. That's so weird to me. But Tiny Truck pointed out, Professor Lo is shipping the wrong age gap. He should be shipping Ghostblade with little Johnny instead. Shake my head. So I'm mostly joking, but I like their dynamic that it has potential. Their sunshine gloomy dynamic is classic. Plus, they could bond over both being parents. So here's the thing. And I thought about it. I'm like, am I going to be a hypocrite if I say that I can see the vision with little Johnny and Ghostblade? Not too, because we found out in the last episode, little Johnny is like in his mid-20s already. So I'm like, little Johnny is much older. The brain has cooked. He's formulated everything. No is still pretty young. I'm like, no, she's barely 18. Leave her alone. And so if she is even 18, I think, isn't she 17? I think that's what we established last episode, or Lo Lee. Anyway, regardless, I could see the vision with Ghostblade and little Johnny, but I don't know. I don't know if I could personally get behind it, because the whole time I'm like, I kind of was shipping Ghostblade with Shang. So I was like, do I want to ship the Ghostblade with the son of the guy that he killed? I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not much of a big age gap person. It's not mostly my cup of tea, but I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum. I'm not going to get rid of a ship as long as it's okay, as long as it's healthy. So sure. Anyway, platonically, they make an amazing dynamic, so I'm not going to complain by that. I could watch a buddy comedy of little Johnny and Ghostblade till the end of time, and I think I would be satisfied. But anyway, so with that being said, we are not going to waste any more time. Thank you all so much for watching with me and commenting. They've been so much fun to read your comments and connect to it. I'm so excited about this arc, but anyway, we are going to start episode 18 of 2B Hero X, and we are going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's dive in. So I had theories. And then this episode went with at least 2 of them. At least we got some answers, but oh man. Holy shit, and Mickey is diabolical. I hate Mickey. And now Liu, how do you not think that, well, I know how he doesn't think. I was like, what an episode, man. I really, Ghostblade, Little Johnny, those 2 are like my buddy cop duo for life. I am all about them. I freaking love them. And wow, okay. We need to talk about this. Here's the thing. The way that the timeline is, when characters are like not what's so genius about it, Lee Hao Lin, when I get my hands on you, what's so genius about it is that the first 4 episodes when we met Lin Ling, Yeah, and Leitner was there, and we've seen him in the flashbacks, and Mr. Shang is there because he's the Treeman Foundation guy, and so that makes sense. But we only saw the hero world through Lin Ling's eyes, so all of the heroes that we've been meeting throughout this entire series are either not with Treeman Foundation, so thus we wouldn't meet them because Lin Ling wouldn't meet them, or they've not, other than Isol, they haven't been relevant. And Isol being part of Mighty Glory opens up a whole thing of shadiness with them. But hell, DOS is shady too, because of Mickey. They're all shady. Zach's probably... It would be hilarious if Zach was the least shady because he's so self-absorbed in FOMO. That would be honestly hilarious that he's the least of our worries just because he's banked in social media. But, oh my God. Ugh. So that's the genius of it. We don't know exactly who's still around in the year 41. So then when we got the reveal of Vortex's death, I'm like, he was in the plane crash. So wait, so he was connected to the plane crash, but not in the way that I thought he was, unless he tried to use his powers like at the last minute and something happened, but we don't know, and little Johnny doesn't know, so then, anyway, we need to talk about this. So we need to talk about this. Of course, the timeline of where we're at, this is the current timeline. That makes things have a much weirder impact because whatever happens in this part of the story, this is 2 years in the past. 2 years ago. Whatever happens, we started out the story in year 41, meaning that, the world didn't end in year 39 with whatever was going on. That just means the fear and anything associated with it has had at least 2 years to simmer. Whatever Shang is doing behind the scenes with his fusion ha technique has had 2 years to simmer. So all this is going to come to a head, and I don't like it. We're going to end this season with everything coming back to the current timeline and being like, this is going to be one of those seasons where the show, it's going to end and the show's going to go, well, that was the prologue. And you're going to be like, what? That's what it's going to be like. I'm calling it now. That's what it's going to be like. We're going to get to episode 24 and they're going to be like, okay, well, that was the prologue. Now we're into the actual story. As long as we go back to Lin Ling and Moon and Isol by the end of this season and touch base on that and figure out, because it has not left my mind in all the weeks and months that I've been watching this show. It has not left my mind. We've been watching it for almost like 6 months now, and I'm like, where's it been? So, like, literally, we've been watching it for at least 4 months. Yeah, we've been watching this show for 4 months as of this. So I'm like, and it's going to be like 6 months by the time we finish it. So, like half a year. But anyway, let's get into this episode. I guess the best way to do is, as we do in this series, just talk about it from the chronological start. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. There was some moments in the series where it was just reconnecting the dots and repurposing it. Sometimes I'm not a fan of that because it repeats stuff and you need to treat your audience as if they're smart enough to connect the dots. But I liked it in this episode because they recontextualized it from a different person's perspective and that added a little something to it. So when we get to it, we will get to it. It's just there's not as much to talk about and discuss because it's stuff we've already seen. But yeah, so mainly Vortex, who I love his fisticuffs, by the way. Love that. So Vortex loses to Big Johnny. That is one of the central elements of this, is that Vortex, who is the #1 hero, by the way, the old #1 RX at the time, loses to Big Johnny. Now, here's the thing. What's kind of interesting is that being X is not indicative of being the strongest. And I think that's something we need to examine as the show, with the show as a whole. Being X, being #1, I feel as if the population believes that means they're the strongest. And because the population believes that, then thus it kind of manifests itself. But it does not necessarily mean that you're the strongest, because X, who came up and showed up and fought against, Boa and all them, and then Queen and stuff. They didn't fight against Boa, but they fought against Queen and knocked her out instantly. I don't think anybody had made the assumption that X was super powerful. Like, they hadn't manifested that. X just was. So I feel like there's something to be said about that. We're going to get into it. I also think that it's interesting, if we're going to talk about it, that little Big Johnny's an alien, by the way. Big Johnny is an alien, and Big Johnny is able to fight against these heroes and is able to counter trust. The trust value powers Big Johnny can override, which is going to come into play later on in this episode when we get to it. But from the moment, there's so much I want to talk about, but we need to do this in chronological order. Poor Big Johnny is actually pretty formidable. Big Johnny has a lot of dexterity, a lot of durability, and it's probably a good thing that little Johnny is there to make sure that he doesn't get his temper tantrums, don't make him go out of whack. So I felt like it was interesting because Vortex has kind of a hot temper as well. So you have two hot-tempered characters who are not concerned about the collateral damage they are causing right now, potentially to everybody else involved. But he tries to use this one power, like he tries to put all the rocks and everything to embed Big Johnny into this like cocoon of boulders. He looks really good there. I wish we could have learned more about Vortex. He seemed kind of arrogant and hot-headed, but also Lee Hao-lin. Did him and Shang have like a thing possibly? Did he possibly have a thing for Shang? He was like, you complete me, Shang, and then Shang's like, I've got a wife and kids, and I'm gonna leave with my wife and kids, and he's like, but no. So we're gonna put Vortex up here, and some things about Vortex as we go, in that he relied, we're gonna find out more about that, relied on Shang to get to the number one spot. And we're going to elaborate on that as we go. Do I think that Vortex might have had a thing for Shang? Of course. Of course he might have. Why not? He definitely, of all the heroes that we've encountered, he seemed the most flustered by the fact that Shang wanted to walk away, to take his son and go. He seemed like he was the most flustered and output by it. Nobody else, when other heroes leave, seemed to have that type of attachment. Just saying. But yeah. And then little Johnny tries to get in there to help him. Now, at this point, he says, you ungrateful little animal. And what does he try to do there? He tried to use his powers, and it didn't work. I don't know what the red power was supposed to be. I don't know if that was him using his trust value, like, to the next level. I don't know what exactly that was supposed to do. He says, you're asking for it. And then it didn't work. Whatever it was. Because he's like Big Johnny, and he says disappear. So I don't know if his abilities were to try and, like, make him go to another dimension. I don't know what that power was supposed to do. We aren't told. He didn't give it a name. He didn't, like, monologue what the power was. But whatever it was, it did not work. The power did not get rid of Big Johnny. And thus he was kind of freaked out by that, because he's like, oh, you should disappear. What is happening? And it did not work. And then he just got the crap beat out of him. And Ghostblade's like, I'm not going to stick around and be fighting that anytime soon. Although he might be. So, yeah. I'm so curious. But whatever happened, it overrode his powers and it didn't work. Based on that alone, and based on what I assume Vortex would be telling the Hero Commission, if I were the Hero Commission, I'd be a little bit more concerned about... I'm just flabbergasted, right? I'm just flabbergasted that Mr. Zack, that Uncle Rock, that Mickey, that Mr. Shang, none of them are looking at Big Johnny that looks like no animal that exists on Earth, that looks like nothing they've ever seen, that they haven't, like, talked to an etymologist, and they're like, what species of animal is this? And the etymologist is like, I don't know. And they're like, well, if it doesn't look like a creature on Earth... could it be from the spaceship that we've been investigating? I was like, that's my only... We're going to save it for the Calamity Corner. We're going to put the Calamity Corner down here. My only thing for the Calamity Corner, we're going to take it down here and talk about Big J, and we're going to save it for there, because I was like... But we're gonna save it for there. We're gonna come back to that, right? Anyway, so yeah, Vortex. We're gonna put Vortex and BJ on there. We're gonna come back to it. Let's timestamp that. It's at 2 minutes and 32 seconds. We're gonna come back to that, and then we'll talk about it some more. But we'll save that for the very end. Anyway, so of course the townsfolk are like, Vortex lost. Like, who would have saw this happening? And I imagine that the friend of Big Johnny that ran there right at the end as Little Johnny came, or the friend of Little Johnny as Little Johnny's talking him down, I imagine he's the one that took the video and posted it online. And that's where it was seen. And that's where it all went from there. I do really like the fact that the speech that Little Johnny gives is the same one that Dad gave to him when their mom died. And Big Johnny was around to hear that speech. And Big Johnny had kind of formed an attachment to Shang as well. So whenever the speech was repeated and Big Johnny could associate that, that's when he calms down, and that's when he's like, oh, okay. So, and he kind of connects Little Johnny, Shang, and everything together. That was a really good moment. I liked that. I love Little Johnny with his little snaggle tooth. This freaking kid. I freaking love Little Johnny. He's great. I like him as a character a lot. I'm amazed we didn't get an OP. Crazy. And then Ghostblade's like, well, bye. What did he get there? I want to go back to that conversation. Yeah, the unknown caller says don't do anything unnecessary. I love that, essentially, Ghostblade has saved no numbers in his phone. That's kind of genius, and it kind of flies with his character, because his character doesn't have any attachment to things, or at least he's not good at forming attachment to things. So why would we suspect that he would save numbers in his phone as callers? Why would we think he would save contacts? He probably wouldn't do that. He'd just get a number and go, okay. And who else would be calling him and talking to him about missions like this except the guy he's working for? So that's kind of genius and hilarious that he just doesn't save any of the numbers. He's just like, whatever. But yeah, this little part here was so cute. And he's like, well, and that also checks out for Ghostblade's character as well. He sees no point in being there. He has no investment in this moment. So he's like, okay, time to go. The thing is, I believe that Big Johnny knows that Ghostblade is the killer. I think Big Johnny has a suspicion, but he's acting instinctually on it. He can't rationalize the killer, but he senses something, smells something. He can connect the dots that it's Ghostblade. And we'll talk about it at the end of the episode. I think that that's about to come out. So then, yeah, Hero Vortex made it on the scene in time to assist with the rescue. And then we have, like, the shots of them all as a family together. Oh. I guess the mom always had the white hair with the orange, like, tinge to it. It looks like she always had that. And then, yeah, there's him and his kid. Oh, that's a really good shot of them. Yep, but according to eyewitness reports, Vortex was badly beaten and gravely wounded. It says, monster appears in suburbs. Hero Vortex reaches the scene. So, what's interesting is Vortex was kind of already there, which is interesting. Or at least if he wasn't there, it was right after he left after talking to Shang. And then the suburbs, Liu knows what that means. Monster subdued by child, yeah. Hero Vortex treated at a hospital. The identity of the child subdued the monsters, gathering public attention. So, yep, although the extent of the injuries are unknown. So, yeah, they're like, oh, wow, this person lost, like, a kid. I wonder if the person who has, like, the hand on his hip, I wonder if that's X. I feel like they're always in the background, lurking as things are happening. We don't get to see their hair or anything, but I wonder. And so, like, maybe he can be nurtured into a hero with summoning abilities. And, like, his, like, trust value skyrocketing. So, we have Little Johnny, which we'll put down here. And the idea of him becoming a hero. And the public wanting him to have these summoning abilities. I really thought they would make more of a deal out of him being Shang's son than they do in this, but they do kind of point it out. I questioned whether Little Johnny wanted to be a hero. I think before the death of his father, he probably did not want to be a hero, or it was not on his radar at all. But following the death of his dad, I think little Johnny was like, if I can become a hero, then I can probably get closer to Vortex and figure out if he murdered my dad or not. And so I think that little Johnny probably welcomed the idea, and plus it meant helping people in his mind at the time. So he's like, sure, you want me to become a hero? Why not? Because he's seeing it on the phone against, and there's like, they're like, is Hero Shang your father? Please tell us. That frustrates me so much because I hate how they know he's a 10-year-old kid. They've said, so they even said 9 on the footage when it was like a year off. I'm like, he's just a kid, but they are so desperate for the attention, so desperate for the story and the gossip, and desperate to like find out if he can be a hero or not, that no one that's giving all this trust value to this literal child is questioning how that kid feels, or if he's, grieving, or they don't give a shit about little Johnny. All they care about is that they have a hero and it's benefiting them, which is kind of like one of the biggest downsides of this world that has been constructed in this series, is that everyone is just out for what they want and they don't care how it impacts anyone else but themselves. It's a very the hero society world in this series is very self-centered, and it's, not too unlike our own in a lot of ways, but it's very frustrating because it's so overt. You just see it and you're just like, okay, let's leave him alone. What is your relationship with the unidentified creature? Were you born with these abilities to communicate with creatures, or was that skill your father taught him? I'm like, surely they knew Shang's skills because he was like up there as a hero. He was in the tower, so he's in the top 10. Or I think somebody said in the comments you didn't have to be in the top 10 to be in the tower, but still, I feel like they should know whether the father's abilities were passed on or not, because I don't think Shang had those abilities. Those are just little Johnny's. So yeah, and so he sees where he's at the hospital, and man, little Johnny is a lot different now than he was 17 years ago, as a 10-year-old. So he's 28 now. So by the way, 17 years ago, he was 10, he's 28. I can support him and Ghostblade more as a couple if he's 28. I can support that more because Ghostblade's 39? There's only 11 years of difference in their age. Okay, I can support that. Ghostblade, we know, is at the time 39. When this story is taking place, I can support that. Little Johnny's 10 years older than No. We can support that. That's an age gap I can get behind. So sure, why not? But yeah, he's so different. You can just see how angry he is. And he wants revenge and everything. But revenge is not in little Johnny's DNA. He's having a very reactive response. He's just lost his father. He's mad. He's confused. He doesn't know what to do with these emotions. And so he wants to direct them towards someone. And the person he directs them towards is the only lead he has on who killed his father, which is Vortex. Which, do I think Vortex killed his dad? Well, no. We know it's Ghostblade. So it's very, little Johnny's only functioning off of what he knows and how it's emotionally impacting him right now. But that's all going to change here very shortly. He's like, I have questions and I want answers. Following the exposure of the boy's identity, Hero Shang, who'd been secluded for many years, has entered the public eye. This is the part that I was like, oh man, so Vortex is not only did Shang refuse to help me, but he left behind a pesky problem. That is the voice of a man who had it down for Shang and is mad that Shang got with a woman and had a kid. That's literally what it sounds like. Because you're the number one hero. What do you mean that you needed Shang? What do you mean you needed him? But we're going to talk about that. But yeah, the pesky problem, leaving behind his kid, I'm like, because if they were bros, if they were best bros, and he was like, little Johnny is like Shang's child. Because you see series where the best friend of the guy, the best friend of the dad, encounters the son, and he's like, oh my God, I was best friends with your dad. I owe him everything. We were together so long, and we kind of had a falling out, but you're a representation of him, and all this stuff. No. Vortex is giving, Snape vibes. only it's for Shang. Only it's for the dad instead of the mom, like Snape and Lily in Harry Potter. That's the vibe that's giving off. Because instead of Vortex being like, oh my God, I didn't realize that was Shang's son, we can connect and everything, and I can try to like connect with him since Shang is dead. No, instead he's like, well, he's a problem. And I was like, unless you were jealous of the fact that Shang had a child and was not with you, I don't know why you would think that. And he's like, I don't want to see anybody right now. So I wondered if they were going to do something with Vortex being in the wheelchair. And, like, does he ever get out of the wheelchair, or is he paralyzed? I mean, Big Johnny did crush him, so I could see them, if they said he never got out of the wheelchair and he just went around Professor Xavier style, I could see that. But I don't know. That's the thing. The show introduces this concept of him getting possibly paralyzed, or maybe he's just healing and he's in the wheelchair for now. But then when we find out he gets murdered in the plane crash, now I want to go back and see if he was on the plane. Now I want to go back and see if he was on the plane. We might have to check that out here in a second. But I'm like, oh, he's like, you little punk. Why are you here? I like the fact that the ears that little Johnny has on his head with his costume, that they come down to form the mask when he puts the hood up. When he puts the hood up, they come down to form... I think so. I think they form the mask. But they're like the two sides of the head. That's so freaking cool. Yeah, and he's like... And little Johnny here in this is so much different than how he is in the actual, like, current series. He's like, did you have something to do with Dad's death? And he's like, I'm the number one ranked hero. Why would I need dirt in my hands for some washed up second-rate loser? I'm like, Dude, let's be real. Let's be real. Denial is a river in Egypt. Yeah. He's like, because you needed him. Without him, you couldn't defeat the rank 2 hero, Phobia Clone. So we find out that the rank 2 hero is Phobia Clone. That sounds terrifying. That sounds like a villain. Phobia Clone sounds like they make like replicas of your fears. Why is that a hero? That sounds like it'd be tied to fear. What? Because phobias are fears. Excuse me? Excuse me? So, Phobia Clone, phobias are your fears. So, how does that work? Now I'm curious. Now you've piqued my curiosity. But yeah, he's like, you needed my dad. And Vortex is like, you don't get to tell me who I needed and in what capacity. But I'm like, dude, let's be honest. He's like, piss off. What do you know, you punk? And so he asks, and when he says disappear from my sight, he does the same language that he tried to use to get rid of Big Johnny. Oh, that's interesting. That is intriguing indeed. And so, yeah, little Johnny's like, I'm going to come back. We're not done here. He says, because of you, I received an invite from FOMO. And he's like, what? He's like, and next time I'll be asking for your answer on the ranking tournament stage. And I like that Vortex is just like, okay, kid, you want to fight me? Sure, I'll face you. Like, he's kind of, I feel as if Vortex knows there's no answer that he's going to be able to give that kid that's going to be any significance. Like, he's not the one that killed his dad, but he's like, sure, kid, you want to fight me? Maybe he's smiling because it reminded him of Shang. Maybe it's the opposite of Shang, and so he feels like it's kind of ironic that he's saying that, but... And then he just laughs about it. And, okay, so when he puts up the ears, yeah, the mask comes down, so the ears come up over the hood. Is that part of the hood there? Yeah, those are the ears in the hood. So when he puts the hood up, the mask comes down over his face. That's so bitchin'. That's so cool. I love that. Nice. Because when I saw the back of the ears, I was like, what is that? But it's the mask when he puts the hood up. That's so freaking cool. I want to see more of that. This is when you know little Johnny's mad. When the mask comes on, like figuratively and literally, when the mask comes on, it's hiding his emotions. But then we cut to 17 years later. So that was in year 18. That was in year 18 was when all that went down. And then 17 years later, or would that have been? Because 17 years later, they said the mission, well, this wouldn't have been at year 18. No, because, yeah, we established last episode, year 18 was around the time the mom died. So 17 years later, year 39 is the current year where all this is going, for this arc, where all this is going down. So 17 years before that would be 29, would be year 20. That, 17. So be 29. So that was year 22. Year 22 was when Vortex was hurt. The plane crash was year 23. Oh my God. So the next year was when Vortex died. Oh my God. So before he could fight him on the tournament stage, before that could happen, he died before he could fight him. Because he's like, when I'm going to come at you for questions the next time on the tournament stage. He didn't get a chance to do that because he died in the plane crash. Allegedly. Oh, okay. So I thought this was interesting that he was sitting there playing the game. I mean, it's kind of morbid that you have Shang fighting Vortex in this game, and big little Johnny is playing his father, fighting against the man he never got to get answers from if he was like the murderer of said father. There are layers to this madness. There are layers to this madness indeed. But he's like, I made it to the top and defended my title again. Video games aren't going to take you to the top of the ranking tournament. So Dyed Out Flame very much seems to be a commentary on how little Johnny had this desire, this flame burning within him to get vengeance on his father's death and to find out what had happened. But over time, especially after Vortex died, that flame died out because he's like, the man that I thought had all the answers is gone now. So there's a very good possibility I'm never going to get answers to my father's death. And I'm always going to be in this state of not having the answers and my life not feeling complete without that knowledge, which sucks, right? Which sucks. So I don't know who this guy is. He's with Zach and FOMO. He is like I really want him, if that's an earbud dangling from his ear, I need him to put it back in his ear or take it off. That's annoying if it is. So one thing that's interesting is like, do I still have a ranking? He's like, Mr. Zach spent a lot of energy and resources on you. So here's what's kind of fascinating about all of this throughout this episode, especially in this moment, because we see that, you know, little Johnny has kind of let things go. He just, like, he lives in the shadows. He just plays video games. He just sleeps. He just eats. Like, his apartment's kind of in a disarray. He's like, I've done my best to fulfill the platform's demands. Like, little Johnny is burnt out and depressed. The crazy thing is, this is happening the same time we've seen him interact with Cyan and Moon, or not Cyan and Moon, but Cyan and Queen, and he looks so upbeat and happy. So there's this really crazy like connection between him and Ghostblade in the fact that both Ghostblade and little Johnny, they both like are hiding their actual emotions, just in different ways. Ghostblade comes across as he's just very like disaffected and detached from the situation and isn't showing any emotional reaction, but he very much has emotions towards his daughter and he's not able to express them. And here, little Johnny like acts like sunshine and rainbows and smiles for the camera, but behind the scenes, he's actually really kind of burnt out and depressed because he's not getting the answers about his father's death, and it's been almost 2 decades, and he still doesn't have answers. So that's such a wild connection, and I think it makes their characters like even more compelling. He's like, the team was designed around the characteristics and strength of you two. He's like, all we're suited for is being cute, lucky mascots. That's the thing. The moment he joined FOMO, I'm like, well, FOMO, from what we've seen, is not really the type of heroes that go on doing like hero work, like saving people. You have like DJ Shindig, who's here for the vibes. And then you have, you know, little Johnny is just there for the smiles and to be a Disney mascot. And they're not doing like, at least with Mighty Glory, you have Isol and Ghostblade who are out doing things. But to what effect? And that also kind of creates a layer with little Johnny's character that all he's used to doing is being a mascot and being a pep talk for somebody. So he's not used to sort of the underground missions that Isol has probably been sent on or that Ghostblade has been sent on. So that presents an interesting layer too. Like what associations are sending heroes on different types of missions. But yeah, he's like, the highest we ranked was around 15. So the highest that he got to was rank 15 at some point, which I think Ghostblade was 5, or is currently 5 as of this year. But I could understand Little Johnny's kind of burnout, because, you know, he thought that he was going to be able to make a difference and then find answers. And all that's happened is he's like, we just do meet and greets and we just smile and we just do publicity things. He's like, I never thought I'd be with a smile like this, that I'd be bringing people hope. He's like, I don't have any happiness in what I'm doing, and I'm not doing what I thought I was going to be doing, and I'm not getting the answers and getting the resolution and vindication I thought I was going to be getting, but people still like this. He's like, you know, it's really sad. It kind of paints the other side of celebrities, and because the heroes in this story are celebrities. They get trust from their audience. They get, you know, they get an actual power boost, whereas in the real world it's very figurative or it's monetary. But here it's on a different level. But he's like, people look up to me and admire me, and he's like, I'm kind of a mess. It's like, yeah, public perception, like the fans have no clue what he's actually like. And then this guy's like, well, if you hate the job so much, why were you so sincere back then? And he's like, well, my original being a hero crashed to the earth along with the roaring plane engine. He's like, I originally signed up to be a hero when I thought I could get answers from Vortex. But after signing the contract, that's when he died. So I want to go back and look at this. So we have the plane that looks like it's on fire. Yeah, and it looks like it was crashing down. Interesting. Into a suburban area. Funny that, according to the sources, Hero Vortex also perished in this accident. Here's the thing. The cause is still under investigation. So yeah, he is like, well, shit, the guy that was connected with my dad is now gone too. Funny that happening within a year of it all. Funny that they got rid of Shang and the guy that knew about him. And the only other one that's faced Big Johnny. I think it's rather intriguing, because I think that's worth noting, that there have been no battles. No battles and no Big Johnny. Not once. So we're going to talk about that down in this corner here. But I'm assuming that the hero commissions are like, well, as long as Little Johnny can keep him under control, we're just not going to make him fight, because he might be invincible to any hero that we have. So we're going to have Little Johnny keep him under control, and then he's not a problem anymore. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that when we get back to it. But we're going to talk about it. I mean, I wonder if they're going to say anything about it at all. I don't know. But yeah, the answer I wanted was buried in the wreckage forever. And then we come back to this. Yeah. And this guy's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, he's giving you he's trying to connect with you, bitch, to give you some backstory, and you're not caring at all. Like, what the fudge? And he's like, well, the big mission you've always wanted is finally here. He's like, I'm joining Mr. Ghostblade. And it says on there, confidential hero mission, approved by the Hero Commission, Little Johnny, and then other executors of the mission, Ghostblade. Yep, mission intelligence. Okay, so it's basically giving him all the information on what they're doing. And so then we go back to this part here. Now, what we don't get is, as they're talking about the material from the wreckage on the alien spaceship, that the alien material defies the laws of energy of our world. Wouldn't that mean the powers brought by trust would become useless if we had access to this? They're like, that's why we need to have a survey of it. Well, I think that Big Johnny is made up of that material or connected to that material somehow. I'm going to bring this up here so we can check out that episode here in a little bit. Yeah, then Tilda Swinton, after accepting the proposal and him leaving, he's like, I'm going to get right together. She answers her phone. Guess who's on the other line but this bastard? I cannot stand Mickey. Oh my God, he's evil. And she's like, sure. So Mickey is obviously working with the upper echelon of the commission, surprising no one. I feel like all these commission heads are all working against each other and with the heads, like, and it's all just this big, elaborate game of back and forth, and it's a giant circle jerk. But, you know, I think Shang is probably the one that's working most outside of all this. And yeah, Big Johnny. I don't mind us revisiting these scenes because we're getting more context. And we're getting this, like, Big Johnny having the reaction to Ghostblade. Well, now we know that Ghostblade is the killer. That makes more sense. Yep. And, of course, nobody understands what's going on. Little Johnny doesn't realize why Big Johnny's having a reaction. Uncle Rock is like, man, your heroes can't get it together. And Zach's like, what? They're able to do whatever they want. Like, it's crazy. Yeah. And then we cut back to these scenes where we get a little bit more context and we see all the stuff that little Johnny saw with his dad as he was talking to Ghostblade. I'm sorry, but it's still so funny. Ghostblade, the humor with him, I love it so much. Yeah, so he goes back on through there. And he's like, I get it. He's like, let the past be gone to the wind, right? And he's like, ever since Hero Vortex died, I've lost all direction in my life. Maybe it's time to put down everything from the past and run towards the future. The funny thing is, running towards the future is going to lead you to the answers of the past that you wanted all along. Who knew? Who knew that's what it took, right? Who knew that's what it took? Okay, I want to go back to the episode. I'm going to go actually back to the Truth Behind Luck, episode 10, because that's the one with the plane scene. That's the one with the scene of them on the plane. I'm going to look for Vortex. We're going to look for Vortex in this real quick. Like, where was he? Was he on that plane? Was he there? Okay. So let's get into this. All right, so this scene from episode 10, there's people on the plane, I mean, and there's like some bags on the floor, whatnot. Okay, and it says report the nature of the emergency. And there's bags, report the nature of the emergency. And so they say there was an explosion and the sound of the fuselage being torn open. Now, we don't know the situation with Vortex, but here's what I do know from traveling with someone who has a physical disability and on a plane. People that are like having a physical disability, like if they were in a wheelchair, they have to be at the front of the plane. Like, unless maybe he could get in and out, but if you need help getting transferred from a wheelchair to the plane, they're going to put you in the front couple of rows. And I didn't see him. So they said Hero Vortex died at the scene. Was he on the plane, or did he get involved in the plane and whatever's going on with it and cause the wreck and then die there too? Conveniently, I don't know. Yeah, because why would there be the explosion? They don't explain that. And the fuselage. What do they mean by that? Okay, because yeah, here, I don't think we see him anywhere in this. I don't think we see him at all. Nope. I don't. Not that we know of. With Lucky Cyan. Also, just going to say this for the record, based on what we've known about Vortex and his character, I don't think he would have given a baby Luck. As soon as they said he died in the plane crash, I'm like, that man, as arrogant and distrusting towards children as he is, he wouldn't have held no baby. That man was an asshole. I was like, no, Vortex would not have held that little girl. He would have been like, no, I'm a hero. Are you joking? No, he would not have. No, so I'm going to call that this man was on the scene of he may have been there when the plane went down. He may have been involved in the actual crash. But I don't think he was inside that plane when it happened. I don't think he held Lucky Cyan. I don't think that happened. Nope. I most certainly do not. I don't see him anywhere in that crowd. Nope. I don't think so. Yeah, them passing her all around, I don't think that happened. I think he was on the outside of the plane. Yeah. Whatever happened, I think he was on the outside of the plane when it occurred and something went down. But we just don't know what. Anyway, I cannot wait till we get answers. That's going to be amazing. I need more answers of Vortex and what ended up happening. Yeah. And And so then I just love that he looks over at Ghostblade. I love that there's like the light shining. Ghostblade could not care less. He's so pissed. And then for him to be like, thank you for your answer, Ghostblade. No, this is the man that killed your father, you dumbass. Anyway, so let's go back to Mickey, our least favorite character in this series. So he's like, Professor Lowe made a breakthrough discovery. With such an obvious movement, it's hard for people not to find out. He's like, I'm not calling you to gather info. I'd like to share some news with you. In commission year 18. Mickey's been holding on to this information for like 19, 20 years. He's been holding on to this info, or he just found it out. And then he's like, time to exploit it. He's like, Mr. MG sent Shang to investigate the crash site of an alien spaceship. After that, I heard he never reported his findings to the commission. So let's add this right here. Shang never reported the findings. Funny that. And then he died mysteriously shortly thereafter. Whatever he discovered there, and potentially whatever he brought back, there's only one person who would know anything about it. Right, which the only person who would know anything about it is Little Johnny, right? Or Ghostblade. It had to be one of the two. So I'm assuming he's talking about Little Johnny because Little Johnny would know, or Ghostblade would know. One of the two, and they're both going on this mission. So, anyway, Mickey's looking pleased as punch. Super evil. And he's like, to expose this to the commission at this time, aren't you afraid Rock would become suspicious? I'm sorry. Look, I've said some lewd things about Mickey and Liu. I've said some lewd things. I've said things I'm not proud of. But I've said things that feel like obvious observations. And at this point in the series, you cannot tell me that these two are not having awkward sexual encounters whenever they can and the tension gets too high. If his daughter hadn't come in this scene, it would have happened. Just like, ah! So yeah, he's like, aren't you afraid of Rock becoming suspicious? And he's like, well, Little Johnny belongs to FOMO. If Rock is a bone to pick, he can take it up with Zach. So yeah, I'm guessing he's talking about Little Johnny. Which is interesting. So Ghostblade at the time was working for Mighty Glory when he was hired to kill Shang. But at the time, Mr. Shand, aka Shang, was the actual leader of Mighty Glory. So Uncle Rock has no clue about Ghostblade being hired to kill Shang. He has no idea about that. Right? No clue. So he would not have any reason to be suspicious of Little Johnny going with Ghostblade on this trip. He would have no idea, no reason to be suspicious because he doesn't know that backstory as far as we, as the audience, are led to believe. He doesn't know. So, but he's just going to be like picking with Zach and say, do you want to intensify their conflict and reap the benefits? And he's like, well, I am all about intensifying conflicts. Yeah. I mean, Mickey's just such a bastard. He's like, we've also invited a special guest to make an appearance. And I was sure that Mr. Shang was the guy behind it, but it's this bastard. So it has to be, because why would you do a fadeaway? He's like, our special guest. He knows, Mr. Liu, it's his hair under the hood. You can see it now. You can see the hair and stuff under the hood. He's that guy. He's the guy in charge of Spotlight Organization. Oh my God. So yeah, so Mr. Liu, the reporter, is in charge of Spotlight. And handling fear. So man, that protester convinced him right out. Like, convinced him straight up. Was like, when he was talking about fear back in episode 8, he convinced him, like, right out there. Yeah. He's like, come to think of it, all the progress made in the first phase of experiments in amplifying fear are thanks to you, great journalist Liu. He's behind it all, which is mind-blowing because his daughter is a hero. And his daughter could get caught up all up in this, which she does thanks to this bastard who is... here's the thing. Mickey wants to keep Liu under his thumb. In more ways and senses than one, right? We're going to keep our minds out of the gutter for this. Like, Mickey wants to keep his, like, fist as tight around Mr. Liu's neck as he possibly can. And so he's like, how do I keep you and all the work we've been doing with fear from getting away from my clutches? Well, joke's on you, because your daughter is in my association. And she's under my thumb. So if I tell her to go on a mission, she will. And if you question it, then she's going to ask why, and that won't be too good. And then how's your daughter going to feel when she finds out that you're the leader of a villainous organization? And that's what's going on. That's so freaking crazy. So Mickey is a sadist, and it's just like they've finally proven the necessity of the existence of fear value. So we now have to worry about trust values versus fear values. Honestly, though, I feel as if, Queen, she's trying to change the system entirely. And I don't think that Mickey is adverse to that, because if she did happen to succeed, he'd be like, okay, we don't like the trust value system anyway. We're conspiring with fear. We don't care if that changes. But also, I kind of feel bad for her, because it's like she's trying to change a system without realizing how far implicated in she is, and that she's kind of just going to be stuck in a quagmire. Crazy. But I feel as if that means that X, our current X, is someone that is not under anyone's control. Is not. I wonder, I was going to mention this earlier, I wonder if X, who is the current X, is tied to all this alien stuff. Because I wonder if his ability is because he's able to combat the hero's powers, which are given by trust value. And the only one we've seen be able to do that so far is Big Johnny, who is an alien from a spaceship. So is X literally Clark Kent? Is he literally Superman from another planet that arrived as a baby, and Big Johnny was like his uncle sent to protect him, and like, or his pet sent to go with him, and then he's landed on Earth with Big Johnny, and Big Johnny got out and ran into Shang instead? I don't know. But if he had the power to override the trust value powers, that would make sense why he just basically showed up and Boop was in charge, and Boop was able to overcome them. That would check out. So I don't know if we're going to find that out. I don't know if he's going to be like Clark Kent. I don't know if we're going to get that, because Clark Kent is from another planet. And he just comes to Earth and everybody's like, oh, Superman. It might be even more stable and more controllable than trust value. I mean, here's the thing. I don't know about stability. Stability with fear? I don't know. I feel like you could run rampant with that pretty easy. But as far as more controllable than trust, yeah. Because with people, trust like changes like that. It's like, boop, gone. Trust, like, I'm trusting you, but you do one wrong thing, my trust for you is gone. It's fickle. It's temporal. Like, oh, we trust this one opinion. Oh, but now this person's the popular one. We don't trust them anymore. So, I mean, trust is temporal. It is very subjective to the conditions and the parameters set around it, right? Fear is pretty, I guess by stability, fear is pretty easy to control, because you're like, that person's afraid of spiders. That person's afraid of needles. That person's afraid to fly. Like, those fears are pretty concrete, and they're not very abstract. This is a fear. This is it. And if you're afraid of spiders now, you will probably be afraid of spiders tomorrow or the day after, unless, certain factors change that. If you have a phobia, like a legit phobia, again, how this isn't a villain, if you have a legit phobia, that doesn't just go away overnight. But you may learn something about someone you trusted and within a day be like, oh no, washing my hands of them. So he's not wrong. He's not wrong at all, fear is, and I'm like, Liu, for someone that's given him that look, you certainly are implicated in all of this. He's like, what you mean to say is, and he's like, heroes who leave their mark in history often come from eras of chaos. He's like, in these 39 years, the ones who have rose up, with the exception of DJ Shindig, are ones who have like arose during times of crisis. So he's like, everything's going according to plan. Frickin' Mickey. Although, just look at the way he looks at Liu! Having more players into the scene may not be a bad thing. Liu is eating... Look at that shit-eating grin. He knows what's about to happen. He knows Queen's about to show up. He knows he has Mr. Liu under his thumb. He got him an extra cup of coffee. He was like, here, bae. Here you go. Get ready to drink it up, darling. Like, oh my God! I cannot be the only one that sees the vision, but damn, Mickey is just... he's so crazy. Meanwhile, Mr. Shang looks like he hasn't slept in 17 years. He looks like since his son's death, he has not slept, and that he is like, this is the thing. The more we get with Shang, the more detached and like isolated we see him from the other CEOs in the Hero Society. I feel like ever since his son's death, he was just like, I'm over it. Peace out with this world. Bye. Let's burn it all down. I don't care about the heroes anymore. I feel like he's just done. Done with everything. Like, you've got Mickey that's trying to like control things in this weird, evil Bond villain style thing. And I think Shang's just like, I'm ready to burn the world. Let's go. What do we got to do? So what is this? This fusion business. What is happening here? There's 3 different tubes and this hexagonal thing showing up. I'm like, what is happening, sir? Like, okay, it says Cabin says fusion in process, experimental details. What is this? I wish I could see it faster. I wish I could see it closer. Like, is this what that's not... It's not Firm Man, because Firm Man is seen with Lin Ling in episode 3, so that can't be him. But, like, what? The Win How? Cabin says fusion in process. So, how are you fusing 3 people together? What how? But when? But why? But who are the 3? So, Shang over here is somehow fusing... There's 3 people involved. Is he fusing the 3 people together? Is he fusing fear with the 3 people? What is happening? Who is that? The guy from the... Is that the guy from the concrete? Like one of the guys that killed his son? Is that what's happening? Because it's like his legs are cut off. What is happening? Is there a shot of the other guy? Because there's another guy in there. I want to know who these people are. I want to know who they are. Show me who they are. But yeah, no, that face of that man is a man that gives no fucks. That is a man who is long past reachable. I'm like, I don't know. And this is still 2 years ago. So what has been happening? Because this looks like the lab where it was his son's place. What is happening? Damn it. I want to know answers. Meanwhile, we don't get those answers. Instead, we go back to meeting everybody here. Poor Ghostblade. I feel so bad for him. And little Johnny makes the not correct assumption that just like the professor and everybody else, he thinks that Ghostblade likes No-No that way. I was hoping that we would go back to No-No finding out that that's her dad and telling everybody like, no, he's my father. And speaking of which, we're going to put that on there. I'm going to save that for there. But anyway, I was thinking we were going to go back to that, but then we didn't. And I was like, oh, you're going to make us wait another episode. But it was nice to go back and see these points here through a different perspective. And now some of the expressions that like little Johnny made, like little Johnny, he even played Lucky Sands My Color. Like some of the stuff that little Johnny was assuming earlier now makes more sense with the context that we know about it. Also, I do love the fact that little Johnny is not his father's son entirely. Like, I don't think Shang would be acting like this, But it's good that little Johnny has, like, his own personality. He's not just a carbon copy of his dad. It's great. Poor No-No, though. But he's like, nice follow-up, Loli. I bet you're starting to understand Ghostblade's hard work, too. And then she's just creeped out by him. Oh, my God. So anyway, meanwhile, we go back to the most sexually tense scene. So far, yeah, these two men just casually up against the same desk, facing the same way, drinking their coffee. In villainous silence. They are my OTP of this series. And then he's like, well, it looks like you already anticipated that this operation would turn into a mess. So you chose to keep your distance and observe from afar. And Mickey's like, ah ha ha. He's like, as a businessman, he's like, how can I possibly miss out an opportunity for the gains? He's like, only you, simply you. You think that I'm just going to watch from afar because I know this is going to be a big shit show. Like, no. I'm going to watch from afar, but I'm also going to get some people involved. And look at him with his creepy ass, like the glasses that are reflecting. Oh my God. Because then guess who shows up but the most fashionista diva of all time. Love her fit, love her look. She's great. She's like, Uncle Mickey, need me for something? She knows. She knows what's going on. She's like, oh, do you want some coffee? Want to join the family? He's like, you just recovered. I'm like, no caffeine for you? And she's like, oh, I'm great. I'm going to be ready for the next tournament. And then he's like, oh, well, your Uncle Mickey one. I love that she says here, she's like, what are you doing here? That is the face of... So I came into this dimly lit ambionic room and couldn't help but notice you guys are just sitting around drinking coffee. Like, what's going on? She has the look on her face like she knows her dad's been screwing this man for years and she just chooses not to accept it. And then he's like, oh, well, you wanted to talk to me about some things. She's like, oh, he couldn't turn on the lights? It's for the evil ambiance, daughter. We were discussing your vacation in the suburbs. And then whenever he said the suburbs, yeah, Liu's like, you son of a bitch. Because, yeah, he's like, you aren't going to leave me, Mr. Liu. I know you're a big part of this whole spotlight thing, but you're not going to leave me because your daughter is collateral. He's like, things are going to go as planned, and you're going to keep doing what I ask you to because your daughter's now collateral in this. He's like, oh, just near the location of an alien ship wreckage. You son of a bitch! He's like, it's still up to your dad to agree to this, though, but he's going to agree because, oh my God, you bastard. You absolute bastard. You absolute bastard! Oh! Mickey! Mickey is the worst of this whole series. Damn it. Damn it, this man. I cannot believe that. I can't believe it. So Johnny having the reaction, like, I think Big Johnny snapped out of it. And my thought was that Big Johnny, one, might have snapped out of the power of fear. But also, I think Big Johnny might have sensed that DJ Shindig was fighting against Ghostblade. And it was like, I recognize this. This is from the night that Shang died. And so he took off towards where the fight was and then led little Johnny towards that way. And little Johnny started having deja vu and started to see that there were the marks from the battle that were just like that with his father getting attacked by Ghostblade. They were the same types of marks. So one would assume that little Johnny's gonna be able to piece together when he finds Ghostblade to be like, wow, you were in those woods that were giving off the same marks as the night that my dad died. That's crazy. Uh-huh. But the thing about it is that he's gonna find Ghostblade. So that leads to the question that when we ended episode, way back when, 12 or 13, with the one where Queen was going with Cyan to investigate. When we left that, we saw Big Johnny had become huge, right? And we assumed that was around the time that this fight was going on. So the question is this going to lead to Ghostblade being discovered as the killer, and that freaks Big Johnny out. Is Little Johnny going to connect the dots? Is that going to be a thing? What do we do with that? I don't know. We got to watch the next episode. We've got to watch the next episode to find out. So, oh my God. The Calamity Corner, for the record, there's only like a couple things on the Calamity Corner that I want to talk about with y'all. Otherwise, an amazing episode. And absolutely, and these aren't things that are necessarily like detrimental to the series at this point. They're just things that I'm like, but why? So, okay, the thing about Ghostblade, they keep calling him a dad and know he's a dad, but how does that work? Like, where do they think his kid is? And how do they not know that No is his kid if that's supposed to be a secret? Like, why? How do they know he has a child? And then how do they not know the child and the mom are divorced and away from him? How is this not knowledge? How does that work? Like, that part I'm like, there's a disconnect there. Like, fill in the gaps there. Like, how does little Johnny know that he's a parent, but doesn't know that No is his kid? And it's public knowledge. How does, like, in a world like this one where everyone is so connected and can find out anything on heroes and people in real life get doxxed all the time, how has Ghostblade not been doxxed? And how has it not been discovered that No is his kid? Like, how does that work? Because if they know he's a parent, how have you not pieced together from, like, he got married in public? How do they not know who she is? And then realize that No is his kid? Like, that seems pretty obvious. So that's like a plot hole right there. And then the thing with Big Johnny and Vortex here, when they said that Shang came back to the commission without any results, but then Vortex probably went back to the commission and was like, I was attacked by this giant monster and my powers didn't work on it. And they went to, and I want to make sure I was saying it right, because I'm like, an etymologist is, you know, the study of, history and the origins of words. I'm wrong on that. So the study of animals, zoologist. So they found a zoologist instead of an etymologist. Work with me. So I'm like, when he came back and said, hey, this giant monster, fought me and my powers didn't work. How 17 years ago did all these CEOs and stuff not go, hey, we probably need to like check out that animal? And how did they not go to a zoologist and be like, so is this an actual animal? And the zoologist would be like, none that we've ever seen. And they didn't go, wow, it seems like an alien creature that was hanging out with little Johnny, who's the son of Shang, who went to the secret spaceship and never reported on it. I don't know where this animal could have came from or if it's connected. Like, nobody's connected the dots on that. Nobody's to the point A to point B. Like, Mickey, you're supposedly very knowledgeable. You haven't figured this out? Like, I feel like I get why they would have little Johnny as a hero to keep Big Johnny in check, because it's sort of like Mickey keeping Mr. Liu under the thumb. Keep your friends close, your enemies closer. They want to keep Big Johnny in the limelight so they can see him and make sure he doesn't get out of hand, because if he can thwart Hero's abilities, that's a big problem, and little Johnny's a way to keep that all in check. But at the same time, you would think they would have at least acknowledged in this episode that, hey, we know Big Johnny's from this spaceship probably. We need to go see if there's any other clues about that. And they don't acknowledge it at all. They never acknowledge it. I'm like, this is an alien creature. How do you not acknowledge it that? Unless they think it's part of his powers. But little Johnny would probably be like, nope, it's not my powers. He'd probably tell him right out. So those two things are kind of plot holes. Like the whole Big Johnny thing and how they've not connected the dots that he's an alien with the spaceship. That seems so obvious, but they've not mentioned that knowledge or having that knowledge at all. And then Ghostblade, his daughter's identity not being connected to him, that seems really obvious too. So those two things, I'm like, how'd you not? But other than that, this is a really good episode. This is a really good episode. And I'm like, all these theories, and then the stuff with the plane still hasn't been answered, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And it makes me want to watch episode 19 so bad, but I am literally, as I'm recording this, I am getting ready to go on a week-long trip where I'm going to be away from my computer for a week, and I only recorded this ahead of time because I was like, I didn't want to have to worry about as soon as I got back home. I didn't want to have to like immediately have to sit down and record and be forced to watch because sometimes you're just not in the mood. So I'm glad I watched this now. This is crazy. Crazy. So, dang it. Anyway, I'm really excited. I hope you all are as well, but I can't wait for next week for episode 19, and we're going to see what ends up happening with all of this. But in any case, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of To Be Hero X. And I'll see you then. Bye.